Thank you for choosing Shooting USA on YouTube. This is a new format for us, and we're calling it History's Guns Uncut. Anytime we have a subject matter expert expounding on the virtues of a historical firearm, there is always great content left on the cutting room floor. But thanks to the format of YouTube, we can bring you the full interview. Please enjoy History's Guns Uncut.
During the Vietnam War, the Air Force needed something for their pilots to carry in case they were shot down to increase their survivability. Now, the standard issue rifle was the M16, and there was no way this was going to fit in the cockpit of a fighter jet. So the pilots were stuck with a sidearm, which isn't very effective in a jungle by yourself. So what they did is they contracted with Colt to design and produce really the first PDW weapon. Colt went with a bullpup design because they needed it to be shorter than a rifle but more effective than a handgun. So they used a rifle style cartridge in 221 Fireball, which was relatively new at the time, but it was a short 22 caliber bullet, smaller than a 223, and put it in a bullpup design so they still had enough barrel length to get effective muzzle velocity. Well, several problems existed with the prototypes, and the program was eventually canceled and the gun was never adopted. However, in 1972, a retired U.S. Special Forces officer named Matt Gwynn took the design. He made it more production friendly for the civilian market and made it shoot the 5.56 cartridge using standard M16 magazines. Not only did it use M16 magazines, but it used an M16 grip, flash hider, some fire control parts. He tried to use as many parts out of the M16 as he could, just for sake of manufacturing cost. And then what that came to be known was the ARM pistol. And it was a pistol, there's no butt stock, but it is a bullpup design, which means the magazine goes behind the pistol grip. Now, shooting it is somewhat awkward, and the ejection port was straight out of the top. Well, with ejection straight out of the top, it would hit you in the face. So what they did to make this ambidextrous is that the gun itself would cant. If you were right-handed, you'd cant it to the right and the shells would go off to your right. If you were left-handed, you would cant it to the left and it would go the other way. So like any other handgun, you would hold it in your hand and then use a post front sight and a notch rear sight. However, aiming was very awkward. You would tilt it and then you have to tilt your rear sight to realign with the front sight depending on which side you flipped it to. And then you would either brace it against your bicep like this for close range, basically spray and pray, or hold it out and trying to use the sights. Now, accuracy was very subpar. As you can tell, there's a lot of play here. Accuracy was not that great. This was originally contracted to be 100-meter effective, but hitting targets at 100 meters wasn't really realistic. And that really hurt it in the military trials and the prototypes, and probably why it was not adopted. So the Colt Individual Multi-Purpose Weapon, or IMP, was really the first PDW, personal defensive weapon, that was designed, and it was designed for this program. Even though it was not adopted, the concept of a compact personal defensive weapon was kind of born there. Now, for the civilian market, obviously, Gwynn took it and used a 5.56 round instead of the more compact 221 Fireball. But it made sense for a commercial platform to use more common parts and a more common caliber. So the Gwynn Firearms Company only lasted a few years before it was bought out by another company, and then it became Bushmaster. The new company became Bushmaster, and they continued to produce these, that produced the rifle version of these too. And they even use this gun in their logo in the bottom of the snake. If you find some Bushmaster, old Bushmasters, they changed it later, you'll see this gun in it. So to keep manufacturing costs, Gwen used an M16 grip, an M16 birdcage flash hider, but then also the rotating multi-lug bolt is very similar to an M16 bolt, not identical, they're not interchangeable, but it is a similar design. It is a long stroke piston system, more like an AK-47, which is a departure from the M16, of course, but it made for a compact system that was very reliable. The gun was reliable, it just wasn't accurate. So, bottom magazine fed, top eject. So when you open it, the round comes in straight out the top there. You can see the bolt and the magazine follower there. The magazine is behind the grip and your fire control is in the back. It uses M16 magazine release, M16 magazine, even an M16 or an AR-15 semi-automatic safety selector.
Is the B for Bushmaster?
B is for Bushmaster. The grip also says B. Bushmaster went on, of course, to make AR-15s, and that's what they're most known for. Yeah. But they were not making AR-15s when they started making these. Accuracy on these were so poor, instead of front and rear sights, they were more like front and rear suggestions. You know, it still is fun to take out and shoot though, just at shorter distances.
Thanks again for tuning into the Shooting USA YouTube channel. We hope you enjoyed the content. A couple of notes. Make sure you take advantage of SUSA15 at snapsafe.com. That's our discount code that saves you 15% on anything from SnapSafe, and that gets to be some big money when you start talking about modular safes and vault doors. Also, if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our new content. As always, a like and a comment helps us with that algorithm.